Alright, Seattle fans, it's Dave at NoRecipeRequired, and it is time for your NFL-inspired burger. We're going to combine two Washington favorites, coffee with a coffee rub on the beef burger, and then I'm also going to do a cherry and onion barbecue sauce, we'll call it, to top on that burger. It's going to be absolutely spectacular. I think it's going to represent the city, the team, perfectly. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, for our Seattle, Washington coffee and cherry burger, I'm actually going to start off by sauteing down some onions. I've got a whole yellow onion that I just sliced thinly, some olive oil in the pan. We'll put a little bit of salt and pepper, and I cook these down for about 25 minutes or so until they become nice and soft and they start really caramelizing down. Brings out the natural sweetness in the onions, and once there, we're going to add our cherry preserves. All right, so for our Seattle burger, I'm starting off with a coffee. Now, that's just a little bit of coffee because I'm only doing one burger. But obviously, this scales really easily. You can even make this ahead of time. It's great on all kinds of grilled meats. I've got a little bit of salt there. This is a little bit of paprika, a little bit of chili powder, a little bit of brown sugar, and then finally some fresh ground black pepper. You know, exact proportions don't really matter, but I do want the coffee to be probably, 30 to 40% of that rub, because I do want a little bit of that flavor to come out on the meat and make sure it shines. We're going to mix it all together, and then we're going to coat our beef patty liberally with our rub. Okay, so it's been, probably 25 minutes or so. My onions are starting to get nicely brown. They're certainly soft, and, you got that nice sweetness in there. And now I'm going to add a good helping of cherry preserves. You could do this with fresh cherries. You're just going to have to cook them down a little bit longer. That was about 2 or 3 tablespoons. And, I like the preserves. That's going to bring a nice sweetness along with the cherry flavor. I'm just going to mix that together, and then to cut some of that sweetness, make it a little bit of kind of sweet and sour, just a little bit of splash of white wine vinegar. And I'm going to let this come up to just a simmer, and really just kind of continue to simmer those onions on low heat, just barely cooking, and let all those flavors kind of reduce and work together and come together for probably 15 or so minutes. And then this we're going to use as a topping for our coffee burger. All right, Seahawks fans. So our cherry and onion mixture is now kind of totally down to a jam-like consistency. So I'm moving that to the back burner, just keep it nice and warm. And I've got a pan that's been over medium heat, a little bit of olive oil on there. And now I'm going to cook this burger slightly lower temperature than I normally would because of that rub that we've got on there. There's obviously brown sugar in there. There's also the coffee. That can kind of scorch a little more easily than straight salt and pepper. So I still want to hear that sizzle when I put the burger down, but it doesn't have to be quite as vigorous. I'm going to cook it for a little bit longer as well, probably like 4 minutes or so on this side, 3 to 4 minutes. Flip it over about the same time on the other side. All right, guys, like I said, this is one you got to kind of watch carefully, make sure it doesn't get too brown. That's frankly on the edge there. So we'll turn the heat down a little bit. Cook it the rest of the time on that side. Now, the beauty of cheeseburgers is if you go a little bit dark, you just cover it with some cheese. I'm using a gouda cheese. This is actually a smoked gouda, which, again, I think the cherries and onions are nice and sweet. This kind of smoky flavor is going to help cut through some of that flavor. I'm going to let this go for about 2 minutes, and then we'll put the lid on it to make sure that the cheese melts off. All right, for the last 2 minutes or so, I covered it just so I could get some of that cheese melted. That'll keep melting as the burger rests. I'm going to pull it off when it's just a medium, maybe a shade over medium. Kill the heat, and I'll let it rest on a plate for 2 or 3 minutes before we plate it up. All right, we've got our onions and cherry sauce here. We're going to go ahead, and I'm going to lay that a little bit on the bottom, and then... Ooh, this is a nice one, nice and messy. And then we're going to take it, after I get that spread out, we're going to grab our rested burger right there. And then we come back and let's do another big pile of those cherry onions on top with our coffee rubbed burger. That is looking pretty sweet. Let's go ahead and cut it up, see how she looks. All right, Seattle fans, let's see how our coffee rubbed and cherry topped burger looks on the inside. I hope this does the team and the town justice. And, oh, that looks nice. Perfectly cooked center. We got that cherries and smoked gouda, the coffee flavor running throughout. Loved making it. Good luck, Seattle. I'll see you next time on No Recipe Required. All right, Seattle Seahawks fans, I hope you enjoyed this burger. I hope that coffee and cherries did your town and your team justice. And if you haven't checked out my other burgers, go ahead, click on the link here to all my NFL burgers. I'm sure you're going to find some that you love. Now, if you like this coffee rub, I think you'll love it on steaks as well as burgers. I'm going to put a link up here to one of my grilled ribeye steak recipes. I don't use the rub on this one, but it would be absolutely perfect. Go ahead, just slather it on the ribeye, grill it off. I'm sure that you are going to love it. And I will see you next time on No Recipe Required.